Oh, last looks before the big weekend tilt. The New York Football Giants want to be 2-0. Need to be 2-0? I know. We want them to be 2-0 for sure. We're going to take a look at that injury report, see if Kayvon Thibodeaux can get back out there, get a little jacked up on some quotes from one Wink Martindale, and of course, a look back at Thursday Night Football and ahead on Andy's Bet of the Week. Coming up next. Oh, yes, friends. On a Friday, it's OGP, the One Giant podcast, where we are your hosts. Over here, Adam Arbrecht, covering the Brooklyn Nets and the Locked On Nets podcast with my boy Doug Norrie. And yonder there, the ever stronger, growing like a fire in the belly of the New York Football Giants fan base's heart, the healthy, wealthy, and wise Mr. Andrew Makowitz. How are we, sir?
It was a sluggish week early on. You had to take the lead, and the listeners were not happy about it, Adam. But I am back strong, feeling good, feeling confident as we go into a Giants opening weekend at MetLife Stadium.
Just to be clear, Andy feels healthier, and the first thing he chooses to do is take a shot at his co-host. That's fine. Good morning to Marty. He's our guy in on the frequent flyer miles for the live streaming. We kind of threw this one up last second, decided to go live with it. There was some debate. We were having a back and forth on a Friday about how hard and fast we were going to go after this one. But as you can tell, I'm ready to roll. Before we take a look at the injury updates for the New York Football Giants and who could be available for them on Sunday against the Panthers in their home opener, a look back, Andrew, at Thursday Night Football, where I got to tell you, friends, and Andy will have some bragging rights he's going to want to tell you about later in the show when it comes to betting. But when we're picking them, and I like to pick them, yours truly, 3-0 now. One Giants game, 2 Thursday night tilts, nothing but net.
Credit where credit's due. I didn't know that we were dealing with the points, or that we're just picking the game. You weren't very clear.
We're dealing with the points every other time.
I mean, look, I just do what I can. I just told you who was going to win the game. Obviously, it was going to be the Chiefs. You ended up winning with the points on the Chargers. Kudos to you. One takeaway I do have from that game is if you watch the end, I mean, Justin Herbert got absolutely destroyed yesterday, maybe 4 or 5 times. It could have been his ribs. It could have been his chest. The fact that he was able to still throw the ball downfield is impressive in and of its own. Like, did you not think that was tremendous that he was able to still throw a football?
Well, by the way, it's like, when you want to, do you have the quarterback, right? And everyone already knows they have the quarterback. But I mean, if you didn't know you had the quarterback, you got the effing quarterback. He on the 4th and 1 play that he converts, that's because on 3rd and 1, he rolls out and he has 10 yards of open green grass in front of him. And he's like, just throws it at the ground to the side. And you're like, there's no way. Like, the guy can barely stand out there, and you commend him for doing it. But obviously, you're not going to go with a backup, and whatever. He's out there, wants to compete, converts that 4th down, and then, I mean, cherry on top of the whole situation. Not only do I take the Chargers and the points and the final touchdown is what gets me over the hump. It was also Justin Herbert to your boy Palmer, the wide receiver, who I happen to have as a tandem in my fantasy league. So you see how it all works out for me.
Yeah, it does work out for you in that way, Adam. It is pretty unbelievable. The other, to your point about the injuries and everything else, Justin Herbert still looks like the quarterback. It is unbelievable when you're able to
watch for him, though. I can't imagine what the next couple of weeks is going to be like for the Chargers.
I was just going to say to you, like, so I not talking about fantasy, but I have Justin Herbert on one of my fantasy teams.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately, when I saw him go down and clutch his ribs, I went to the waiver wire, like, who can I pick up? Because he's going to be out for a while. And he just kept coming back for more and more punishment. And then I read this morning, the Chargers are optimistic that Justin Herbert will be ready to go for week 3. And it's like, how he almost couldn't stand upright. And they're like, no. The extra 3 days that they have because they played on Thursday night means he'll be good to go. It's like the guy either has cracked ribs or like a collapsed lung, and he's going to be okay. If anyone had any question about football players being tough, just look at that guy getting pummeled, and they're like, yep, he'll be out there in less than 2 weeks.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely brutal. Not to mention the fact that you look around, were you picking up Cooper Rush? Was that going to be the go-to move there? Right, not a lot of options out there when you start scouring the wire for those. No, I really what I thought was, because of how tough football players are, I was like, you're going to hear the dude has a broken rib. right? Like, because that's what it is. When a human being gets a bruise something, you go, oh man, I'm gonna be laid up for a few days. I'm gonna have to sit on the couch, not gonna be able to move around, blah blah blah. This is no. I'll go ahead and power through this. Yeah, sure. Normal people be dragging their limp bodies across the pavement. I'll just be ready to play another NFL football game in 10 days time.
I stubbed my toe walking to my couch, and
It
I'm out
happens.
longer than Justin Herbert is going to be. It was an incredible game. It was great to see two quarterbacks at the peak. Two of
Yeah.
the top 5 quarterbacks in the league dueling. It was a little bit of a sloppy, a little bit of a messy game at times. Felt like both teams were kind of feeling each other out. I expect the rematch later on in the season to have more fireworks.
Yeah.
But great Thursday night game. We don't get many of those during the season very often. It was great to tuck in. And now the full focus on Sunday can go to the Giants.
Shout out to Timmy there in the chat. Also, just real quick though, before we do move on, did you like the broadcast with Herb Street and and Al Michaels on Prime?
I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did. I'm so used to Herb Street calling college games that if it felt a little foreign to me having him talk about NFL talent. Usually he's talking about how this person has the potential to be something. Now he's saying how great they are at the pro level. Well, aside from them as a broadcast, I do think it's hilarious that it's on Amazon Prime and every single person at like 8:10 goes and flips on the NFL network and is like, wait, where is this game? And then you go to like ESPN, you're like, wait, where is it? And then it pops your mind, like, oh, Amazon has it. I can only imagine the older crowd like pulling their hair out, thinking like, that's it. May as well pack it up and go to bed. There's no chance I'm finding this thing on TV when all you got to do is open up the Amazon Prime app.
I will say, and we're gonna let's get into the Giants here, but they did a little kind of advertisement of what they think. Not what they think, what is coming for Amazon Prime when it comes to their football coverage, the replay analysis, the instant reactions, the angle, like all this different stuff. There's like a 10-year contract that they have, they just launched with the NFL. So, I mean, like they're all in their infancy. It looked pretty tantalizing things that be going on there. That being the case, Sunday, 1:00, Carolina Panthers in town, Big Blue. And I don't know, man. Talk to me about Kayvon Thibodeaux, because I don't know whether is it Kayvon telling me that he might play, or is it the medical staff telling me that he might play?
Well, I mean, like I said, I said this to you earlier in the week, Adam. Like the only way that he's not going to play is if the medical staff physically does not allow him because they see something wrong. I said he's going to look at them and say, "Tell me why I can't play. Like explain
Yeah.
why. Like I've done everything you've asked me to do. Tell me why." And you saw him working off to the side. He actually got limited reps in, which was a huge factor in all of this yesterday. A couple of different beat writers were able to talk to him, ask him some questions after practice. And his comment was, "Hey, I'm getting close," Thibodeaux said. Like I said, try not to look too far. What's today? Today's Thursday. We still have Friday. We still have Saturday. I'm really confident in this Sunday. I'm very excited that Kayvon knows the sequence of how a week goes, because he's like, what's today? Thursday, I have Friday, I got Saturday. But he
we'll play
ultimately,
on Sunday.
yeah, we'll play on Sunday.
On Monday, we'll talk about it.
I arrive at 10 a.m. on Sunday for the game. But
no, wait. Then Tuesday will come, Wednesday, and then what day? Today is Thursday. That's right, guys. We'll be right back here for Thursday.
But he kind of gave the wink of like, pun intended, that like, I feel very optimistic about my chances to be out there. He knows he's not allowed to say anything, but he is doing everything he can to get out there. What does it mean for the Giants to be able to see someone like Thibodeaux be able to return for them?
Well, it's funny because we were talking about having a rookie tackle on the other side there for the Carolina Panthers trying to protect Baker Mayfield, struggled in week 1. It's not dissimilar to thinking about any rookie tackle, Evan Neal for us, or Andrew Thomas when he first came in, right? So if you have Thibodeaux, that's a pretty sweet matchup. What I think is interesting as we, we can wrap this into injuries and last looks at this game a little bit is I think that Thibodeaux would be your best option to have coming off the edge there and bringing pressure. And here's what I'll say, because I wanted to talk about how they can manufacture pressure even without Thibodeaux out there. But I think the biggest part of this would be mitigating Christian McCaffrey in a lot of ways, right? I'm not telling you that Kayvon Thibodeaux is picking him up in coverage and going downfield stride for stride if he comes out for a passing down. But when you talk about trying to set the edge, you want to have Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence doing the work in the middle. Having a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux that has the athleticism and range to get out towards that sideline and try to push McCaffrey back inside and let the linebackers and let the secondary and let the safeties come up and help make those plays, that I think is going to be the biggest factor around what you lose, as much as we know what he brings in getting after Baker Mayfield and forcing turnovers.
So for me, what I find fascinating is in game one, we actually didn't need Thibodeaux and Ojulari as much as we need them this week. We talked about focusing on
Oh,
the
yeah.
run game against Derrick Henry. Like stopping the run was paramount then. We know that stopping the run is always going to help you win football games. But in this game, getting pressure on Baker Mayfield is going to be more important than it was getting pressure on Ryan Tannehill.
More
Right? We
athletic
know,
quarterback, more
right,
athletic
right.
weapons. Yeah.
Exactly. Like to me, needing them in this game is far more important, and it showed that we were able to compete and ultimately come up with a victory against the Titans. We need at least one of Azeez Ojulari or Kayvon Thibodeaux back to be able to get some of this pass rush going. Because Adam, getting Baker Mayfield, as we've said all week, to speed up his decision-making process is everything to the Giants winning on the defensive side of the ball. As you, I think, alluded to and want to bring up, pressure can be in a whole host of ways. Obviously, getting some of those edge rushers home without having to send multiple guys is huge. Expect Wink Martindale to have a whole different type of look than he did week one against the Titans. There's going to be pressure from the secondary, cornerback blitzes, linebackers coming in from the inside, as well as the traditional rush three, rush some of the defensive ends, outside linebackers.
Yeah, I really think that if we look at this and say you're not going to necessarily put four hands in the dirt, you're not going to use many big bodies like Ward potentially in this one. Not that he won't have his role. I look at a three high safety set, and pick your poison about who it's going to be, along with Julian Love and Xavier McKinney. Get some Tony Jefferson out there. Hey, I don't care. Put out some Dane Belton. I like if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. But one of those three players who are all capable of it, and if we're talking about those, let's put Dane Belton in the mix just because he's got some of that speed. Xavier McKinney came on that bullet line drive at Ryan Tannehill, and he just got that ball away in the week one matchup. That's where I think you manufacture the pressure, right? On occasions, you're just going to have to trust. We need to get home with our pressure here and then trust that we can hold up in coverage for 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, whatever it may look like, right? If we can do that, calculated, if Wink Martindale can be smart about it and judicious about when he uses those blitzes, I think you can mix those into the fold. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're going to see safety blitzes 5 or 6 times in this game, because it's going to open you up really big on the backside with Moore and obviously with Robbie Anderson, two guys that can stretch the field, have speed and quickness. So, but I think you have to try to do that, understanding that if you bring the blitz, like sometimes I think when we talk about blitz packages, you think about it as getting pressure on the quarterback when they're on a passing play. But bringing the blitz can also stymie the run game, right? If you're thinking about this is going to be a pitch left, or it's going to be a draw play decision for Christian McCaffrey. If you bring that wave from the left side and you force it to the right, everyone on the defense knows that's where we're going. We're bringing the pressure here. We need to fill the gaps on the other side. So there's opportunities there, I think, to manufacture some difficulties for the run game too. Understanding, I think this is going to be a far more difficult matchup against McCaffrey than it was against Derrick Henry, simply based on the style of running back that they are.
What I find fascinating, you mentioned Xavier McKinney. I read something somewhere. I won't go deep into the stats because I don't want to get it wrong, and I want to be able to give credit where credit's due. But
Hmm.
having a couple of pressures and blitzes from Xavier McKinney was almost as many as he had all of last season. So you can see how in one game we're already thinking about how he's a chess piece that you can move around on the chessboard to do anything, and that's why he has the green dot on the back of his helmet, Adam, because he can sit back there and be the quarterback of the defense. But he can also get up there and use his athleticism to get to the quarterback, as you mentioned, completely disrupting Ryan Tannehill on that play. So he is going to be very critical in this. I will expect him to blitz again. I will expect him to be deep in coverage trying to pick off Baker Mayfield. He's going to be all over the field. But yes, a guy like Dane Belton is going to be important. Tony Jefferson will get some reps out there. I see, with Aaron Robinson down, there's going to be a whole host of players that are going to have to make up for him not being there.
Yeah, I there's, I don't know. It's gonna be.
What's eating at you, Adam? Because you seem to be a little bit perplexed, or like, is there something that you're not excited about for this game?
No, I just think, you know what it is. I think it's interesting because everyone's excited coming out of the first game, as am I. And I think this game is far more likely to be one where you're going to have some back and forth scoring potentially. Just, here's what's interesting. Wink Martindale came out in his press conference and I'm telling you, friends, he laid a little bit of inspirational knowledge drop all over his own team, all over the locker room, and all over the New York Football Giants ahead of this matchup, right?
Who did? Wink
Wink
Martindale?
Martindale.
Our leader on defense, Wink Martindale, he did indeed, Adam. And Wink Martindale basically went on to say, and he called out all of us listening on OGP and all the fans around MetLife Stadium. He called on Giant fans to be loud in the home opener. And his exact quote was, if you want to be part of of changing this culture here with the Giants, be loud and have that place rocking where people don't want to come to our stadium. We'll give you something to be loud about. And he went on to say, we'll take care of the rest. So he's basically putting it on Giant fans to say, get loud, be excited, give us an opportunity to get those silent counts, and we will deliver for you. And when we do, we know it's just going to be self-perpetuating for the rest of the season.
And so this is why I'm perplexed. Because like you hear that and you tie it in with the way they performed last week and you get this upset victory against the Titans. And I'm by the way, I'm fully bought in to this coaching staff being the right coaching staff and to getting the most out of players and that this team is going in the right direction just overall. And I want to then buy into the Wink Martindale line of like, dude, like, let's be loud. Like, and by the way, when was the last game? I mean, you're a season ticket holder. You have family and friends that go to games. Like, when was the last time, really? I mean, authentically, even when it's exciting at the beginning of seasons, whatever, when Giants Stadium was genuinely the kind of a hostile environment for an opposing team, right? Like when they really had a hard time trying to figure out play calls and getting the snap off before the play clock expires. Like it has been a long time since there's been that type of atmosphere with consistency over a 60-minute game. There's been, hey, here's 20 seconds where we think maybe we have a hope. And by the way, justifiably, Giants fans have always had the rug pulled out from them in recent years. But do you have a sense of that? Like the last time that really was a thing at Giant Stadium?
Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one, Adam, because MetLife Stadium opened in 2010, right? So it's only been
Perfect
open
timing.
for it's only perfect timing. It's only been open for 12 years, basically. Obviously early on there was some excitement in the stadium. Maybe you go back to 2016 when the team was doing well and they were 10-6 and the team went on the boat trip. Like that felt like the last time it was loud. But every season opener is generally loud.
Sure.
Like I was at the Broncos game last year, and when Sterling Shepard caught that touchdown, everyone was going berserk and looked left and looked right and said, this is Sterling Shepard's year to have 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He's got the rapport with Daniel Jones. He obviously gets hurt. Things just completely devolve. We give up, touchdowns at the end of the half, and we just can't manufacture points at all. Things go downhill from there. But what I will say is it feels like with a win under our belt and coming home for the opener, it's kind of the double where it's like, we actually might have something rolling here. And the fans, you might actually legitimately help impact what we have going on here.
So, and that's okay. So I like that. I get it. And I want it. And I just, as with Daniel Jones, as with this entire team, one game does not define a season. It certainly improves. And we heard a lot of reports that, hey, they turned the page from that week one, but the atmosphere and the environment in the locker room, the energy from the players, like it is all positive vibes. And I don't think it need be negative if this game doesn't go according to where we think it should or could. But when I look across to the Carolina Panthers, the one thing I'll say is Baker Mayfield doesn't scare me in any way, shape, or form because of what he has been as a career quarterback, but he's capable. And so are the receivers, and so is Christian McCaffrey of just making big plays. The Giants defense could have 45 minutes of solid football play on Sunday and still give up one or two drives, a couple of big monster catches, and that can translate to quick points for the Carolina Panthers. And that was something that they didn't have to face in week one, let alone the fact that we don't have Aaron Robinson and we have a complete question mark. Whatever he was going to be for us, you now have a guy that was getting the starter reps all throughout camp. That was the guy. They didn't waver on that. Now you just have a big question mark there. We talked about maybe bringing up from the practice squad. We know that Cordell Flott is on this roster. What does that look like? Shifting around safeties. It's just there's a lot to consider here, including the fact that we know Calitro, who we liked it through training camp, veteran presence, he did not have a good week 1 game. So where are we going on that side of the ball here? It's not that I don't think that collectively this defense can't still play well, but there are still a lot of concerns here. And I just, man, it's just snake bit once, then 6, 7, 8 years in a row. And it just, I had that little lump in my throat of like, this may not be the perfect start to the season that we're all building it up to be coming off that big win against Tennessee.
The hard part is that you feel like there's more variability with Baker Mayfield than there is with Ryan Tannehill. I think that's like at the core where it's like Baker Mayfield at his height is the number 1 pick in the draft, won the Heisman Trophy, has the ability to like move the ball down the field vertically pretty well. He also has the
can
downside
throw 3 interceptions, but can also throw 4 touchdowns. Like,
right.
Right.
Whereas Ryan Tannehill, it's going to be 65% of your passes. It's going to be, maybe a touchdown, no interception. Like it's going to be very vanilla. The Giants have one way to stop them. I can understand your pause for concern. Like I get why you feel that way, but Adam, these are the types of games that are benchmark games for the Giants. You're at home. You're getting your number 1 pick back. You're coming off. You have these positive vibes. You're feeling good about everything. These are the types of games at home that you have to win if you want people to take you seriously. You have to be able to beat a team that's expected to be around 500, maybe even below 500. If you have them coming into your building and you have your full repertoire available to you, have to win the game. That's it.
It's a really good point as far as whatever you think the Giants season is going to be. When you look across their schedule, and very specifically, it's not on the road, you're at home. It's the home opener underneath the new regime with all the positivity. It's a game that you feel like, calling games must wins relative to what the idea of the season is. Hey, I don't know. But if you win this game and you're 2-0, and then you have, we talked about the Cowboys and the Bears coming up, you can really set yourself up for, again, big picture, you can just stockpile some wins here, even if you're going to take some lumps against some of the better teams in the league, right? Going over to London against Green Bay and whatever they're going to look like. There's bad matchups on the schedule for the Giants for sure that are going to be hard. So you stockpile them now, and by the end of the year, when the record looks pretty good and you're around 500, it all comes out in the wash because you got the wins that you were capable of getting. We're going to get into, obviously, our predictions here on this, but I think we can start to get a little bit of a gleam of the direction that we're headed when we take a look over at Andy's bet of the week.
Well, Adam, I after going 1-0, highlighting Saquon Barkley as the guy getting out of the backfield, catching the ball, being versatile, people have a little bit of coin in their pocket. I went with a very even money bet the first time. Now I'm opening things up and I'm trying to find value for the listeners. And I think I have found a little bit of value. My pick of the day is based on the odds and chances that you're getting on this bet. Not saying that it is more likely than not to happen, but saying there is a better chance that it happens than what the odds are suggesting, if that makes sense to you.
Always does. I understand betting intimately.
Well, that's why I try to make sure that I explain it so that anyone feels comfortable and confident with what I'm saying.
You better believe it.
The bet of the week is the Giants defense to score a touchdown, and you're getting 11-1 on your money. And let me explain why, Adam. The reason why is Baker Mayfield completes 59% of his passes. He is not an accurate passer of the football. Baker Mayfield also has thrown more interceptions than he has games played. Baker Mayfield has also had, each year of his career, had 1 interception returned for a touchdown. Each year, he throws at least 1 pick six. Let me add a couple other things for you. He has 31 career fumbles. He fumbles the ball quite often. He's not Daniel Jones level, but he still turns the ball over with great frequency. And lastly, what I will say is not only the Giants potentially getting back their best pass rusher in Kayvon Thibodeaux, Wink Martindale likes to bring pressure, and there is a rookie left tackle in Ike Ekwonu who looks overwhelmed in week 1 going against this formidable blitz scheme of Wink Martindale. How do you like all that when you're getting over 10-1 on your money?
I don't mind that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because defensive touchdown is like, throwing a dart at the wall with something like that, but you got a lot of information in front of you. Like if you had said this last week against Tennessee, I would have scoffed a little bit harder, right? Ryan Tannehill, Mr. Ball Protection, right? Not going to risk it. But a guy like Baker Mayfield, man, we know he's capable of it, combined with everything you said there about the pressure. I'm down for that, man. That's a nice one. You're reaching a little bit deeper, you're pulling the odds a little bit higher, and you're giving yourself a shot. I don't mind that at all. For myself, as you know, I like to get myself in here. This is Andy's betting corner. It's his bet of the week, obviously. But I always like to just give people a little taste. You should know, friends, that when you go 8, 9, or even 10 legs deep on a same game parlay, you only miss by one. That technically is a win. Now, they're not going to pay you out any money for it, but it is technically a moral victory. When you pick 8 games across a slate of a Sunday and you only lose based on the Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers and a crud field goal and one of the worst performances in Joe Burrow's young career, you chalk that up as a win, friends. Again, they're not paying me any money. I'm not getting anything back. And yet, I feel like the victories are legitimate. Yeah, you're going to want to put out that disclaimer. We all believe in that, of course. But how about this, though? I'm not here to scoff at anybody. I'm playing it close to the vest today, my friends. Same game parlay. We're taking a look at the Panthers coming into New York Giants MetLife Stadium. Daniel Jones, over 207.5 passing yards. Gotta like that. You gotta like that if you have any faith in Daniel Jones whatsoever, which I do. In spite of what people may think about the podcast, I do. DJ Moore, longest reception over 21.5. Couple of big plays. He's shifty. I like those numbers. Player to score a touchdown, Christian McCaffrey. Seems like an easy one there, friends. Daniel Jones to throw, and this is probably the big risk here. This is the big go get you. Daniel Jones to throw over 1.5 touchdowns. I think that Daniel Jones is capable of. I think he's going to go to that red zone. I think he's going to get the job done a couple of times. And by the way, I am putting a lot of faith in Daniel Jones in this game. Over 23.5 rushing yards. Thank you, sir. I think we'll get outside that pocket and make some things happen. And a part of that big, getting over that 1.5 touchdown mark, is looking for some targets. I think Kadarius Toney is going to be out there this week. I think it's going to open some things up for Saquon and also open up some very easy opportunities for a guy that had, I think, 2 catches last game. You may not have even noticed that he was playing. That's one Kenneth Golladay. Over 2.5 receptions on the day. You go ahead, throw down $5. You're getting $5 for 180, my friends. Crisp Abraham Lincoln out of your pocket, plus 3,500. Andy, don't even tell me that that's not reasonable. I set a very reasonable set of expectations there.
I mean, you have Daniel Jones throwing the ball more than people think he is and running the ball more than you think he is.
You think you don't think? All right, let me ask you this.
I'm just saying.
No, I get it.
You're asking for him to overdo what he's expected in the passing game, overdo what he's expected in the running game, overdo what he's expected in passing touchdowns. It's almost like you believe in Daniel Jones. That's kind of surprising to me.
As I have said a number of times, it's not that I do not believe that Daniel Jones is capable of being successful. I think that it's a gradual growth process and you need to temper expectations. This game against this defense is where Daniel Jones should be having significant success. If he doesn't hit the over on a lot of these things, regardless of putting a little parlay in there, 6 legs, by the way, I took that spider, ripped off 2 more of them. The point is that, like, if you can't do it against this defense, then it does raise more question marks, right? You need to go out and be able to be successful against a team like this. And when we turn our attention, although I was going to turn our attention to predictions, but I think did you have a little extra, little bonus? Check on your pants pockets. Do you have something else extra in there when it came to Andy's bet corner?
Well, I do.
An unofficial.
Yes, this is unofficial, and I won't count it. I won't even brag about it. But
Andy's unofficial bet of the week.
I do think that the over in this game is going to hit. We're going to be
43.5.
It's 43.5 right now. You talked about Daniel Jones throwing for over 1.5 touchdowns. That's 2 right on the board. You already have Christian McCaffrey in your mind scoring 1. That's 3. You're already at 21 points in your mind before we've even kind of kicked off the game. Yeah. Like I do think, as we'll get into our predictions in a minute, when you're talking about both teams potentially getting towards 20 points, you're basically at the number already. Then it's a field goal here or there to be able to get over it. To me, in perfect weather, that feels like an opportunity for you to maybe take a look at taking the over. So that's my other unofficial one. But I just have more conviction after doing all the research and stats about the defensive touchdown. It's longer odds on them, but I want to give the people what they want.
The official bet of the week, very sexy. The unofficial bet, it's okay.
Yeah,
You can take it or leave it.
exactly.
It's unofficial.
That's why I did it.
Let's talk predictions, my friend. It's Sunday. It's 1:00. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. The stadium is as loud as it's been in a decade. Who wins this one?
After seeing what I saw last week against Tennessee, a good team, you have to feel better about the Giants than you did going into the season. I think you have
Yes, you
to.
do.
You like that Brian Dable has guts. You realize that Wink Martindale can
Nuts
shift
and guts.
Yes, you realize that he can Wink Martindale can shift his system, right? You see he went with big bodies. He didn't blitz the same way that he normally does. He can game plan and prepare for different people. Because of all this, you have to like the Giants. You have to like them at home under a field goal. I think the Giants are going to hopefully move the ball with a little bit more success. I like your idea of the Giants, getting Kenny Golladay involved. He did have good separation when out there. It's going to be on Daniel Jones to find him. I have the Giants pulling this one out 26-20. New York Giants getting the win, covering the spread, hitting the over, making me go home from the parking lot a happy man at MetLife Stadium.
I like it, man. I'm not against it. I said this is a tough one for me. Normally, if you go back all last season, I have been on this podcast as Marty chimes in with his 28-21 Giants prediction. I like that as well. He's right there in line with you, Andy. So often I would say the Giants are going to get there. I give all the reasons why they weren't going to have success or why it's going to be difficult or way the game could go. And then I'd still go with the Giants last year. I've done that for the last few years because honestly, I know on this podcast, consider that I'm like the more reserved analytical approach and Andy's the fan, but it's still deep inside of me, friends. I literally was born a Giants fan. So it always brews up inside of me. And again, maybe it's just being scorned. Maybe I want a second week, prove it to me that this has conviction. Prove it to me. You mentioned about, I think Wink Martindale's system is diverse. It is versatile. I want to see the next phase of Mike Kafka's offense because there were moments, but in all honesty, it was 164 rushing yards, 194 all-purpose yards from Saquon Barkley. That was the difference in that week 1 game, right? Without that type of performance from Saquon Barkley, could have looked a lot different, let alone it was a missed field goal that ultimately got the win, which I'm ecstatic about. And that's the way it goes on Sundays, right? For those reasons, I think if there's a little bit of a snake bite here and the Giants continue to build and get better as this season goes on, I'm still confident about what they can do in this season. I have it Panthers 27, New York Giants 24.
So you feel like the old trend continues where the Giants aren't at the level yet where they're expected to win. They will go out and win football games. Still a little bit more of a learning curve for the Giants to have in order to get to that level.
And listen, and this, I'm not, this isn't a hedge. Like that is my pick. But again, if Kayvon Thibodeaux is out there, if he's back out there playing, and if Kadarius Toney is back involved and he has his pull in the offense, like there are big factors here that sway how this game can look, especially when you think about offensive drives that instead of going maybe and shutting down at a field goal, turn into touchdowns or extend plays, right? There's those big opportunities. But I do want to see that proof defensively. Show me the sacks, show me the forced fumbles, show me the INTs for touchdowns, right? Like this is the kind of game. I agree. This Carolina Panthers team has Matt Rule, who is clearly on his way out if he doesn't get his act together. Baker Mayfield, who is hanging on by a thread as an NFL starting quarterback, like everything, and Christian McCaffrey, who's coming off a poor performance, right? Everything about this says like, come out and show. If you're a team that is not on the up and coming, we are going to take care of business. I want that to be the case, but I didn't see all of those components against Tennessee to say that they can just come out and dominate this team. And I know it's difficult understanding a 12-5 team in Tennessee last week, but I'm going to be watching what Tennessee does over the next couple of weeks as well, because they have a difficult matchup. I can't remember who they're playing this week.
They're playing the Buffalo Bills.
So, and the Buffalo Bills are a very good team, but if we turn around, as we always say, right, 3-4 weeks from now, if we look back and Tennessee is a 2-4, 2-5 team, you go, oh, like things get reframed on a season-to-season basis. So I want it bad, man. This is one. I'm 3-0 on the season with our predictions. I want to be 3-1 at the end of this weekend. Everyone knows I put the Giants and ultimately OGP first and foremost.
Well, think about this, Adam. As a final thought at the end of the day, imagine if Tennessee goes and beats Buffalo, does that change your mind of like, well, the Giants clearly, like if Buffalo's the Super Bowl perennial favorite now, and Tennessee goes in and has the run game working and they look amazing, like does that all of a sudden do it the other way where it's like, wow, the Giants went into Tennessee and beat them?
I had a friend. I had a friends that cover the Arizona Cardinals, and they were saying the same thing about the Cardinals lost. They got absolutely destroyed by the Chiefs. They're like, yeah. He's like, but what if the Chargers come out and really stick it to the Chiefs? Or if they blow out the Chargers, will you feel better based on what the Chiefs charging game, how that plays out? And it was like, you got absolutely destroyed if you're the Cardinals. Did you watch the game? Well, what did you think last night? Okay, so the Chargers are obviously way better than you because they went toe to toe with the Chiefs. The Chiefs still won. The Chargers still, came in like a last play, a last second, whatever. Like no, right? Did that fix anything? Do you feel any better if a team does something to a team you won or lost against? Like, not really. And I don't care. Dabo said it. The whole staff said it. We say it. Won the game in Tennessee. That game does not matter anymore. The things you can take away from it and build off of are fantastic. But if we're gonna, and I know you're not saying it, if we're all gonna sit here and go, yeah, remember in week 2 when we beat those Carolina Panthers? Well, they're 7-6 now, 13 games in. That means even no, it doesn't. Are we winning games? Because guess what? If we end up being 1-9 and the one win was against Tennessee Titans in week 1, great, bully for us, right? Go out, win ball games, and be a competitive football team. Something I think that this team can do.
It's going to be 73 degrees and
baby.
sunny at MetLife Stadium. The tailgates will be happening early, Adam. It's going to be that 60-degree weather where you kind of throw a long sleeve shirt underneath that Saquon Barkley jersey. I am excited for Sunday. It feels like the fan base has been invigorated with passion and excitement. I can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. It will be a turning of the guard, truly, if the Giants come out as a favorite and win this game. It will change the way that people perceive what the rest of the season can be.
100%. 100%. This is an opportunity to change the narrative around what is possible for the New York Giants this year. Thank you, Marty. We genuinely appreciate you showing up every single day, having your cup of coffee, and joining us for our conversations. Enjoy the game on Sunday, everybody. We're back in, of course, breaking down the win or the loss. We want Big Blue to get that W. We want Daniel Jones to be a more dominant quarterback every single week. Big opportunity on tap. You follow us over on YouTube, where, of course, you can subscribe and share it and like it and love it and want more of it. Get that podcast needs fulfilled wherever you get those taken care of. And as Andy Makowitz, I think, today and going into the weekend and every day this season, now more than ever, wants, needs, and nay, demands the people know.
As always, let's go Big Blue.